Is veteran film director and producer Michael Winner. Michael, thank you so much for coming. Now, it seems to me that Mr. Cameron's saying the industry should produce movies that make money instead of winning obscure awards. Well, if it were that easy, you and I would go and do it tomorrow.
It's a joke. I mean, it's a complete joke. Does he seriously think someone at the British Film Institute, lovely people as they are, is going to be capable of knowing what films will be commercially successful? If he did, he could go to Hollywood and earn $5 million a year. I mean, it's nonsense. As William Goldman said, nobody knows anything, but we do know the Americans know a bit more than us because their films make a fortune and ours lose a fortune. And they bandied these figures about, $250 million. That's what the film took gross at the box office. What comes back to the movie is about 10% of that.
Yeah.
It's the most misinformed industry.
Think about the King's Speech. I read it. It earned at the box office $414 million in ticket sales on a production budget of $15 million. But if you wrote down the script on a piece of paper, it's about a man with a speech defect. It doesn't seem like a mass movie winner, does it?
No, I don't think that people would have chosen that as a commercial film. Certainly nowhere near to the degree it has become. But there are always these oddities. I don't mean that rudely, because it was a great film. There are always these strange films that break through. But 90%, 99% of British films die a death. They're shown at 4 in the morning on some obscure TV channel, and there's only got 3 people watching it.
I suppose the other side of the coin is the usual suspects, led by Ken Loach, complain that subsidies are vital for creativity. But to many of us, it sounds a bit like special pleading for loveydom. They simply want to make movies that they're interested in, and they don't care about the bottom line.
Of course, I adore Ken Loach. He's a good friend, he's a great director, but his films are politically motivated. Yeah. They do not get an audience at all. I doubt if even Kess turned a profit, and it was one of the great films of all time. Citizen Kane didn't make a profit, mind you. So, of course, he wants to keep working, Ken, and the only way he will keep working is to be subsidised by government. Now, I find it very difficult to accept at any time, and particularly today, that when we're asking people to cut salaries, cut pensions, not enough hospitals, not enough nurses, not enough thousands of things, and we're told, put the money into movies. Please, let them make movies that make a profit of their own accord.
Exactly so. If you were, in particular, if you were in the armed forces or the police and you were about to lose a frontline job, you would say, wouldn't you? Well, hang on a minute.
Why is this man driving around in a chauffeur-driven car to make a movie that no one's going to see?
Why are we subsidising movies at all?
Ridiculous. I mean, you know, Julian Fellows said, and he was the only one, me and him, that, you know, when the British Film Council went down, said, good. I mean, it was the biggest waste of money ever. Millions of pounds were lost. Millions. And much as I love the BFI, one thing is absolutely certain. They will do their best and they will lose everything. Now, that is for sure.
You made some very successful movies, of course, Death Wish, made a lot of money. Did you have any subsidies, Michael?
No, I never had any subsidies on any film I've ever made. And some made a great deal of money, of course, and some did not. But they were financed by the industry.
Won't people in the industry say, yeah, but if we don't put money in, we are becoming a nation of vulgarians, of barbarians, we're not subsidising the art, it's all about vulgar commercial consideration?
Well, I don't see the Americans pouring public money into movies, and they make some of the finest movies of all time continually, and they make box office successes continually. I mean, you can't buy people into the cinema. I started in 1957. There was the Edie Fund, there was this fund, there was that fund, there was quota. Cinemas had to show so many British movies. They got mammoth subsidies, didn't get anybody in. The cinemas are empty. You can't buy people in. They don't say, oh, we've got some government money in this, we've got some lottery money. Oh, we must go and see the film that's got lottery money in it. They don't care.
Now, in the unlikely event of David Cameron ringing you up, Michael, and saying, look, I've got a bit of a problem with the British movie industry, give me some advice, what should I do? What would you tell him?
I would say, David, there are more worthy causes than putting money into ventures that should be commercial and should be viable in their own right. Put the money somewhere else.
And are there enough investors, people with an interest in the movie business in this country to back British movies if government pulled out completely?
Well, on the whole, movies are backed by distributors or major companies that think they're going to be a success. Well, if they don't want the film, Why should the lottery money go into it? If they've said no, we don't want it.
Well, I suppose to give Ken Loach a job.
It'll give Ken Loach a job, and a few others, you know.
Now, as well as being a veteran movie maker, you are, of course, a famous restaurant critic.
Yeah, that's a joke.
Many people enjoy your column, including me. Today, a great name in British catering, Little Chef, said it was going to close 1/3 of its outlets. Are you surprised? Does it matter?
Well, I don't go to Little Chef.
Never been?
So it doesn't worry me, quite honestly, they close the whole lot. But, you know, we always like to see things. But restaurants are like anybody else. You know, they are a luxury, even Little Chef. People have got to decide not to eat at home for the fiver, but to go out to Little Chef, and then you've got the wine, and you've got the transport, and you've got all the other things. So they're not doing well, restaurants on the whole. Funny enough, the posh ones are doing very well.
Yes, at the very top, and I suppose the rich are always with us. And finally, Michael, age whatever it is you are, mid-70s, I'll be kind to you.
Yes, you're very kind, yeah.
You recently decided to get married. Our viewers can't see her, but Mrs. Winner's at the back of the studio.
Lovely lady, isn't she?
Marvellous
Looks
woman.
good.
I don't know what was going through her head, but what made you get married after all these years in your mid-70s?
Well, you know, you at last realise there is somebody there who is so great and so marvellous that you actually want to stay with them forever. And she is fantastic, this lady, Geraldine. I've known her for about 50 years before. It took a long time, longest courtship in history.
Well, it worked. Michael, you must be one of the greatest salesmen of all time because you've sold yourself to her. Well done. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Now, that's almost all we've time for this evening, but before I go, here's my number of the day. It's $2.12. That's the price per pound of orange juice, a record high. It has risen by 25% this year and could go higher. If I were you, I'd stick to the gin. You've been watching Jeff Randall Live. If you missed any of this evening's interviews, they're all on the Sky News for iPad app. Tomorrow I'll be talking to Sir Roger Carr, the president of the CBI, about executive pay. Next up, as ever, all the top stories here on Sky News. Bye. It's great.